In the heart of ancient Greece, there existed a civilization so fierce, so unforgiving, that its very name has become synonymous with the idea of ruthless warriors. The Spartan Empire, a society that bred warriors from birth, sculpted its citizens into weapons of war, each one prepared to die for the glory of Sparta. But the true story of this brutal empire is far more than just tales of battlefield prowess and ironclad discipline. It is a story of intense sacrifice, fierce loyalty, and an unyielding devotion to the idea of honor, a story that begins in the shadows of myth and ends with the destruction of a once invincible power. How did a small city-state, tucked away in the rugged hills of the Peloponnese, rise to become one of the most feared empires of the ancient world? And what is the true cost of an empire built on such uncompromising ideals? In the ancient world, where power was often measured by military might, few civilizations were as formidable as the Spartans. Known for their unparalleled warriors and their relentless pursuit of strength, Sparta's origins were both mysterious and steeped in myth. According to legend, Sparta was founded by the semi-divine figure Lycurgus, a lawgiver whose reforms would shape the very fabric of Spartan society. Yet the reality of Sparta's origins is far darker, rooted in bloodshed and conquest, as the city-state grew from humble beginnings to dominate the region through a mixture of fear, strategy, and brutal discipline. From the moment a Spartan child was born, their fate was sealed. Babies were inspected by the state, and those deemed weak, sickly, or unfit were abandoned to die, left on the slopes of Mount Taygetus to be claimed by the elements. This was the beginning of the harsh Spartan way of life, where only the strongest would survive. Boys were taken from their mothers at the age of 7 and inducted into the agoge, a brutal military training program that would forge them into soldiers who could withstand pain, hunger, and hardship like no other. They were taught to fight, to endure, and to become the perfect killing machines. Their childhood was one of deprivation and suffering, pushing them to their limits, hardening them not just physically but mentally, so that they would become the epitome of Spartan excellence, the warrior. The Spartan military machine was one of the most formidable forces the world had ever known, and it was on the battlefield where the Spartans truly rose to prominence. At the heart of their power was the infamous Spartan phalanx, a tightly packed formation of soldiers, each shield overlapping the one next to it, creating an impenetrable wall of bronze and iron. In this unbreakable wall, each soldier was bound to the other, their survival depending on the unity of the whole. It was in these formations that Spartans faced down some of the greatest threats to their empire, none more iconic than the Battle of Thermopylae. Led by King Leonidas I, the Spartans made their stand against the Persian Empire, a massive army under the command of King Xerxes. For 3 days, 300 Spartans, with a few thousand allies, held off one of the largest armies ever assembled, facing an almost certain death. Yet the Spartans did not retreat. They fought with such ferocity and discipline that their names would echo through history forever. The fall of these warriors was inevitable, but their sacrifice became a symbol of resistance and bravery, a testament to their unflinching loyalty to Sparta and its ideals. The Battle of Thermopylae may have ended in defeat, but it sparked a fire that would ignite the Greek world against Persia. Sparta's legendary military might was not without its key figures, leaders whose stories would become immortal. In addition to Leonidas, another towering figure of Spartan history was the general Lysander, whose naval victories during the Peloponnesian War would mark a turning point in Sparta's military dominance. With his fleet, Lysander would defeat the Athenians at Aegospotami, securing Sparta's position as the dominant naval power in Greece. But Sparta's rise was not without internal strife. Beneath the surface of the warrior culture lay an empire built on the backs of the Helots, an enslaved population who worked the land and served the Spartan citizens. While the Spartans lived lives of luxury and military training, the Helots endured untold suffering. This social inequality was the quiet poison at the heart of the Spartan Empire, and it would eventually prove to be its undoing. As Sparta's military might expanded, so too did its internal divisions. The ruling elite, known as the Spartiates, grew more powerful, while the helots and lesser citizens were left to suffer. Tensions between the classes began to rise, and the once tight-knit Spartan society began to crack. Corruption began to creep in, and the discipline that had once defined the Spartans began to erode. The ideals of Sparta were being tested from within as political infighting and internal strife took root, but Sparta's decline did not happen overnight. For centuries, Sparta remained one of the most powerful and feared city-states in Greece. The Peloponnesian War, a brutal conflict between Sparta and Athens, left both sides exhausted and fractured. Though Sparta emerged victorious, the war had taken its toll, and the once indomitable Spartan power began to wane. In the 4th century BC, Sparta faced its greatest test, the rise of Thebes. Led by the brilliant general Epaminondas, Thebes shattered Spartan dominance at the Battle of Electra, where Sparta's once invincible phalanx was decisively defeated. The loss marked the beginning of the end for Sparta as a military power, as Thebes and other Greek states began to challenge its supremacy. The final blow came in the 2nd century BC, when Sparta was absorbed into the growing power of Rome. Though Sparta would survive as a city-state for centuries, it would never again reach the heights it once had. The legacy of Sparta, however, would live on long after its fall. The story of the Spartans became one of the greatest legends in Western history, their ideals of discipline, loyalty, and sacrifice serving as a model for military societies throughout history. The Spartan warrior, with his unwavering commitment to honor and his unyielding strength, became a symbol of the ideal soldier, an image that would inspire countless generations to come. Yet the legacy of Sparta is not just one of military might. It is a reminder of the dangers of a society built on the premise of absolute loyalty and discipline, where individual freedom was sacrificed for the sake of the collective. It is a story of greatness and fallibility, of strength and weakness, of an empire that rose on the back of violence and suffering, only to be undone by the very ideals it was built upon. The Spartan Empire, with all its glory and brutality, remains one of the most fascinating chapters in the history of ancient Greece, a society that lived by the sword. It was ultimately brought down by the same forces of power, pride, and betrayal that fueled its rise. And while Sparta may have fallen, its story, with its legends of warriors and heroes, continues to captivate us today, offering a glimpse into the raw, unyielding power of human ambition and the price that must be paid for glory. The Spartans may have been defeated, but their legacy is one that will never be forgotten.